I am back. I'm so excited to be back. I am finally home from 30 days of traveling and from 2 weeks of being in class every day for my Master NLP Practitioner training. Such an amazing experience filled with so many breakthroughs that I'm bringing to you in this episode with my friend, my soul sister, and business strategy coach, Jen Casey. She is amazing, and we actually met on the internet. You'll hear the whole story in the podcast. And we laugh a lot, we have a lot of fun, we have a lot of breakthroughs, and we do the work together. And we came home from our graduation night of our Master NLP training, and we were like, okay, we need to hit play and record right now because we have so much to share. And you're going to get a lot out of this episode. There was so much juiciness in this episode that we were like, okay, we can't not put this on both of our podcasts. So if you have not yet, make sure you go to Jen Casey's podcast, The Inner Boss Podcast. Such an awesome show. It's been inspiring me for over a year now, so go check it out. And find her on Instagram at HeyJenCasey. She has a Facebook group for online coaches to manifest and monetize. She's just an amazing person, and you definitely want to connect with her. So go do that. Can't wait for you to listen to this episode. You're in for a treat. Enjoy.
It is 11:49 p.m. right now, and we are here in our Airbnb, and we are celebrating and recording this episode because we have just officially completed 2 full weeks of NLP Master Practitioner training. Ashley, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling obviously way more knowledgeable, way more attractive, just feeling like a
whole
champion.
New person.
Yeah, no, really a whole new person.
Yeah.
That's an inside joke because when we finished our practitioner training, I did an Instagram video. I'm like, Jen, how are you feeling? You're like,
I feel smarter.
Yeah.
I feel like better. I feel more attractive. And you're just like, ah. Anyway.
Funniest thing ever.
And this is why we're friends, because she laughs at my jokes, and it makes me feel good.
Aw, and you laugh at mine.
Because you're really funny.
Thank you. You're really funny too.
You guys find yourself an Ashley.
Aw, love you. Welcome to the Badass Manifester podcast. Keeping you inspired with high vibe content, bringing you the best manifestation and mindset tools, teachings, interviews, and answering questions to help empower you to get out of your own way and take massive action to make magic your everyday normal. I'm your host, Ashley Gordon, spiritual life and manifestation coach, helping women and spiritual entrepreneurs manifest more impact, influence, and income. It is my purpose and pleasure to help you wake up to the badass creator that you are. Let's do this.
So we wanted to share a little bit with you guys today some of our biggest breakthroughs through this process, because as coaches who teach manifestation and around energy and all of these things, we both know that if you are part of our audience, chances are you may be going through some of the same things. So we're going to share a little bit of the craziest breakthroughs, like get ready, because it's like, boom,
Juicy.
Mind-blowing stuff. We're going to talk a little bit talk a little bit about getting visible and how to show up and do the work. So if you guys don't know Manifest with Ash, intro yourself, girl.
My name is Ashley Gordon. I am a spiritual life and manifestation coach, and I work with spiritual entrepreneurs who are seriously ready to let go of comparison and caring about what other people think to step into their full self-expression and purpose.
Boom.
Yeah, to like live your calling and be the badass manifester of your life.
Yeah, and if you guys are listening to this on the Inner Boss podcast, you need to go and check out Ashley's podcast, Badass Manifester.
Badass Manifester podcast.
Boom. So good. Such a good show. And if you guys don't know me, or if you're new to my show, I'm Jen Casey. I'm a business strategy and NLP coach, and I work with online coaches who want to turn their social media into sales and think like a top earner. And if you guys are like, cool guys, what the heck is NLP? It stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming.
Neuro-Linguistic Programming is literally what it stands. So it's rewiring the neurotransmitters in your brain to help you reprogram your language patterns, to help you reprogram your internal representations of how you take in information, right? Like what we see, what we sense, and how we take it in. We make it mean something all the time based on our beliefs, our values, our memories, our time, our location, all the factors. And then what happens is we are programmed with that information.
And the work within NLP is really about helping individuals understand their programming and the way that they see the world so that they can make intentional choices about whether they want to continue thinking the things that society, their family, whatever taught them to believe, or if they want to choose again and create a new level of freedom in their life. Yeah. So a lot of this work is, I mean, I've been doing this for many years, and, through some of you guys follow Tony Robbins, and he does a lot of NLP in his work. If you read some personal development, little different things will pop up here and there with NLP, and it's just incredibly powerful to be able to look at to understand your own psychology of the way that you view the world, and to really see it from a bird's eye view and go, oh, where did that come from? Where'd that belief come from? Where'd that decision come from?
Yeah, and what also is really powerful about the techniques that we've learned, and now at a mastery level of being an NLP practitioner, change can happen in an instant. Mm-hmm. And today we were talking a lot about the processes and the breakthrough days that we went through that we're going to tell you about. And this stuff is content free. You don't even have to tell us like what you've been through or your story or anything about it. We can literally take you through these processes, and you will have change in your life happen instantaneously.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you've ever been through therapy or you know anything about traditional therapy, it's really about, revisiting the things in the past and talking through them and finding learnings, essentially. And with the techniques in NLP, because I can speak to that because I've been through years of therapy, and it's certainly useful, and it's good to talk things out, and there's time and place for everything. And the techniques within NLP allow you to release things and cut through all the noise, all the stories, and really shift you from, being in that place of perhaps stepping into being a victim of circumstance into being 100% at cause, meaning being in charge of your own results, being responsible for your own life, and saying, what do I need to do from this moment forward? How do I need to take ownership for the things that have happened to me, and what do I want to do about it, as opposed to living from past circumstances? So it's really powerful stuff, guys.
That is one of the biggest breakthroughs that people have, is realizing that they don't have to be the victim. They have a choice, and that they can be at cause for their life. And the way that I teach and the way that I help people is I help them understand why circumstances and situations manifest the way that they do in their life. Mm-hmm. And so if we can look at the things that show up for us and take responsibility for the part that we play in the creations that are in front of us and the reality that's being projected to us, because it's being projected through us. So it's like, yeah, I'm responsible for this reality. I'm responsible for my physical pains. I'm responsible for, everything. It starts to really transform what your reality is.
Mm-hmm. And like what you're just saying, like manifesting your own physical pain. Some people might hear that and say, why would I do that? I wouldn't do that. You're not doing these things consciously. Your unconscious mind is taking in 2.3 billion bits per second, and our conscious mind is only able to sort through 126 bits per second. And so when you are moving through the world, you are using your 5 senses to take in information, and then we are distorting, deleting, and generalizing. And in our brain, we have something called the reticular activating system, and essentially what it does is it filters through all of the stimuli that we're taking in so that it says, okay, what are the most important things that you need? And it also, when you tie in manifestation, when you set a specific intention that you're trying to manifest, some of you guys are really into angel numbers, where you're saying 111 or 333, all of a sudden, once you set that intention, you start seeing more of it. Or when you're like, I'm going to buy a BMW, or I want a BMW, I'm going to manifest that. All of a sudden, the only car you see is that BMW. Red BMW that you really, really want. So that's your reticular activating system at work, and it is basically priming your mind, your unconscious, to look for the things that you are, you're saying, this is what I want to see. You're setting that intention. And so that's why you're seeing more of it. It was always there. You're just taking it a new 126 bits per second.
So good. And also, it's talking about the unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind, it will repress your emotions. And it will repress your emotions to protect you. And so sometimes our repressed emotions do cause physical ailments in our body. And we don't necessarily, it's not, like you said, it's not like we're on purpose suppressing emotions. At the same time, it's literally the job of our unconscious mind to protect us. Mm-hmm. And so it will store them physically in our bodies, and then it will show itself to us to learn the lesson that we need to learn from whatever the emotion was trying to teach us in the first place.
Yeah. Unresolved emotion is going to cause dis-ease in the body.
Yeah. Totally.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I think it's fun to share how we met because
yeah.
It's like such a good story. Well, Jen was on Instagram Live
doing a Q&A. And sometimes if you guys have ever been on Instagram Live, you know how you get the request for somebody to join you. And I said it was an open Q&A. Anybody could request to join. But then there was all these random people who were definitely bot accounts requesting to join. And then I saw this thing, Manifest with Ash, pop up. And I was like, that's someone that would probably really be fun to talk to. And so you jumped on with me.
Yeah. And when we got on, it was such a great conversation. I had just finished launching a program, so I had a couple questions about strategy, and you literally blew my mind in the 5 minutes that we were talking, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it just gave me a lot of clarity and a lot of things to think about. And then I saw on your Instagram story, I don't know, a week or two later, that you were going to an NLP training.
You were like, hey.
Yeah.
You messaged me, you were like, are you going to the one in Philly in April? And I was like, yeah. You're like, I am too. And guys, we were 2 of 12 people or 10 people in the class. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we both happen to already have signed up for that and we're going is just we were obviously meant to meet. We had no interaction prior to that Instagram Live, and we were already signed up for it. So it's just wild.
But I was listening to your podcast before that, and I followed you and knew who you were. So I met an online celeb. Receive it. No, but I really feel like I attracted you into my life.
Same.
Aw. You didn't know it, but...
I didn't know it, but I met you. I was like, oh, wait, I don't know. I need to be friends with that girl. And it's kind of the rest is history. And then we did our NLP training. We were attached at the hip. #rapport twins.
Yeah.
And our trainer, shout out Ryan, he... was like, all right, how long have you guys known each other? And we were like, we just met 3 days ago.
Yeah,
but best friends.
You know when you meet someone and you're just I feel like I've known this person forever.
Ever.
Yeah. That's what happens when you're in rapport. You just say the same things at the same time. And
at the same time. Stupid. Yeah.
And a lot of laughing.
Yeah.
A lot of laughing.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested about NLP, I know I was sharing it, and so is Ashley on Instagram stories. And I swear to God, I could not believe how many of you guys reached out and were asking, where did you get certified? Did you like it? What did you learn? What did you do? So I am going to, we're going to talk about that throughout this episode. And I'm also going to, if you're listening on the Inner Boss podcast, I'm going to be linking up my affiliate link in the show notes, and Ashley's going to be linking up hers if you're listening on Badass Manifester podcast, because we just absolutely love it. We adore Ryan Simmons, definitely recommend him as a trainer. It was just an amazing experience. Really, they pack it full of some seriously juicy content. You have tons of awesome pre-work that you get to do so that you go into that training and come out of that training knowing yo shit. Like, you're good to go. Yeah, and
not only do you go in knowing your shit, but you come out transformed.
Mm-hmm.
That happened for us both times that we did, our practitioner and now master practitioner. So I can't say enough about this whole experience.
Yes. Well, one of the coolest things that we did halfway through this master practitioner training was we broke boards.
Yeah.
Like, karate chopped, broke the board. And that was a really powerful experience. There's videos of it. I got really hyped. I felt like I was in the zone. I really was recognizing in myself that I had a new level of power, and I thought, why am I not tapping into this every single day? It's always been in me. I use it when I need to do a live video or speak on stage or present something, and I'm not doing it first thing in the morning. So that was a huge aha for me, that I'm like, Jen, why are you not doing the work? Why are you not using the tool that is so powerful, that gets you in a powerful state? So that was really exciting for me to be able to use that. And I look at that video, I make that power move, and like, boom, I'm anchored to that power state.
It was so awesome. We have these boards, and I'm looking at the board, and I'm like, how am I ever going to karate chop this thing? And the point of it, well, someone shared in class, his name was Rick. He was so awesome and cute. He was like, so are these boards like a metaphor for like blocks in our life that we get to like, move through and overcome? And Ryan was like, yeah, sure. But it really is. It really shows you your power.
Yeah.
And the power of your mind to be like, I can do anything and I can break this board in half.
And what was especially cool about it was we were tasked with writing on the board, and on one side, writing all of the things that we wanted to create, all positive affirmations, pictures, whatever we wanted. And on the other side, on the bottom side, any fears, limiting beliefs, limiting decisions, anything we wanted to get rid of on the other side, so that we were literally breaking through to get to the other side. And the thing, the really powerful metaphor within all of this is that so often when we have a problem, something we need to break through, we struggle to break through it because we're looking directly at the obstacle. And when you're breaking through a board, in order to get through the board, you have to like look at the floor. It's like, think about reaching the floor instead of breaking the board. Because if you focus on the board, you just smash right into it and you don't break through.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a story about that.
Do you know anything about not breaking a board?
You guys, I had my biggest breakthrough when I did not break my board on the first try. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a very intense moment for me. We were talking about this Jen and I were talking about this podcast before we started to record, and going over what our biggest breakthroughs were, and that was definitely one of my biggest breakthroughs. Was, it was my turn to break the board. I was the last one to go, and I was hyped up. I was energizing the board. I was breathing life energy into the board. And I went and I smacked that board.
You slapped it.
I slapped that board like it was naughty. Like
we were all like,
okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so metaphorical after the fact. But in that moment, like every single thing that I wrote on the opposite side of my board, like not feeling good enough, not worthy, caring what people think, afraid of judgment, just so many of my gremlins and my deepest inner critics, right, were on the back of that board that I was breaking through. They all showed up in that moment of not breaking through the board. And it was like in my face. Everything that I feared was in my face in that moment. And I played it off, like I pretended like, like it's all good, like I'm just going to break it on the second try. And I did. And I allowed that moment of, being submerged in all of my shit, if you will. Yeah, I let that moment overtake the joy of actually breaking the board and being proud of myself for actually breaking the board. And afterwards we walked out and Jen looked at me and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, honestly, I'm really not okay right now. Like, I can't, I'm so embarrassed that I didn't break the board on the first try. Like, I was so embarrassed.
And the biggest question when I was like, you want to talk it through? Like, I got
like,
you.
yeah.
I was like, if you need a process, that's cool. If you want to like talk it through, that's cool. But one of the biggest questions within NLP, and this is a powerful one, so I'm going to say it twice. So whenever we have experiences, they're neutral. And it all comes down to, what did you make that mean? Yeah. So I looked at Ashley and I was like, okay, not breaking the board, what did you make that mean?
Yeah. I made it mean that I wasn't good enough in that moment. Mm-hmm. Like, I took that on in that moment. Obviously, I know that wasn't true.
Well, then I said to you, I was like, you're making, you're like, as we all do, building a story around something. And I said, from my seat in that house, in that room, and watching the replay, it had nothing to do with your intention. It had everything to do with your form in breaking the board. Because when you break the board, you want to lean forward on your front leg, have your other leg back, and then lift your, I'm a righty, so I use my right arm, lift it straight up with your elbow tight in, almost like you're doing a tricep push-up, and then you push through with your, the palm of your hand. And when you went up to do it, you were doing like an overhand thing. Like, you were like scooping your arm over the top, and then you just kind of came down with a flat hand. So you just literally slapped the board.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know what my limbs do. I got really long limbs, and they're just like flying everywhere.
Yeah, so it was like, it has nothing to do with ability, and it really, when you watch the video, it's like, oh, it didn't break because of your form. So you just fix your form, and you did, you adjusted it, and you broke it. And I was like, that's a beautiful metaphor for so many entrepreneurs where they do something for the first time. I have so many clients of mine who come to me after, they say they're struggling to sell their product because they, quote unquote, they launched their product and nobody bought and they're upset about it. And I go, well, what did you do? What was your process? And they explain their process to me. I'm like, you didn't technically like launch in the sense of the way that the top entrepreneurs and marketers are, quote unquote, launching their offers. You essentially just went on a live video and you announced that you had this new one-on-one coaching offer or this new course, and you mentioned it once on Facebook, once on Instagram, and then you waited and wondered why no one bought. And so it had nothing to do with you being good enough. It had nothing to do with your product not being good enough. It had nothing to do with people wanting or not wanting what you had to offer, and everything to do with the fact that you just didn't get it in front of enough of the right people in the right way.
The form was off.
The form was off. You didn't, or in that situation, it comes down to modeling what successful people have already done. And if the form is off, if the process is off, then the result is off. Mm-hmm. And so instead of saying, well, that didn't work, it's a giant failure, just adjust the process, just adjust the form and get the result that you want, instead of saying, well, game over, I suck, I'm a loser, nobody liked me. Because you can make it mean whatever you want. You can make it mean that, oh, I'm just going to play with this, I'm going to be a scientist, I'm going to experiment, and I'm going to unlock abundance in a variety of ways.
Yeah, and no, that's so well said, and like that helped me so much. And I teach that too, in the way of looking at what happened, looking at your circumstances, whether it be a launch or whether it be breaking a board or whether it be anything, and understanding, getting the learnings around what you make it mean, and also get to the facts. So the fact was the board didn't break on the first try.
Like,
period.
Stripping away any emotion.
Yeah, like the naked reality. Mm-hmm. And it's so helpful too, because it's like, okay, yeah, that is all that happened, and nothing else. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that I'm a failure. And so you can close the gap much quicker between feeling really bad and feeling really good. I got over that really quick. I felt that feeling for 2 hours maybe, and then I got over it. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thanks for helping me.
You're welcome. I was like so excited for you, and I thought it was so profound and like such a beautiful thing to watch, because it really is an even more impactful metaphor. Like, okay, somebody broke something on the first try, but then watching somebody not break it on the first try, one, brings some humbling reality to the fact that you're putting your hand through a freaking piece of wood. Like,
yeah,
most people are not gonna just walk up to a piece of wood like, I think I'll break this with my hand today. It was just an
average night.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it just gives it a little bit more like, wow, that is really amazing that you're able to do it. And I think it's a beautiful metaphor for not giving up. And, you know, obviously this whole conversation that we had after was like, these are some profound learnings that I think a lot of people need to hear and are taking in and enjoying hearing right now and having some light bulbs.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's another huge takeaway from this training, was all the learnings that we've received.
Yeah.
I mean, Jen took me through a full-on breakthrough day. It was an 8-hour breakthrough day, all about me and my business and what I want out of my business. And I did the same thing for her with her business.
And it was like, holy shit.
It was so
well, it wasn't just
profound.
Business. It was like,
it was life.
The theme. Everything. So basically, when you do a breakthrough day, you pick an area of life. It could be business / like career, relationships, your health and fitness, etc.
Spirituality, growth, personal development.
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, we decided to go with the theme of business, but really when you start digging underneath that, it's just, you know, it's all about you. And I mean, ultimately the reason we selected business was because that was where we wanted to create really specific goals and really specific outcomes and really see the most transformation there, because that's really the area where we can measure the most growth, I think. But yeah, it was really freaking transformational. Yeah. You made me feel so safe and so comfortable, just like literally like, you know everything about me. It's like, here's all my stuff. Here's all the shit that I haven't let go of yet. Have fun figuring that out and helping me release all of it. And you did.
Thank you. So and you did the same thing for me. I mean, you held the space so gracefully and beautifully and led me through serious transformation.
Yeah.
Huge release. Huge release. And there's something to being willing and open to share with someone too, like having the right coach to take you through your transformation and trusting your coach, trusting in their certainty to take you through and their like confidence.
No, you have to find the right person. Somebody who you feel understands you, aligns with you, and is going to, exactly what you said, hold that space for you and allow you to get the learnings and, you know, be there to fully support you and create that safe space for you to just be seen as you are with what you've got, and know that you're safe, because it can be really, really vulnerable sharing a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy thing for most people to kind of bare their soul. One of my biggest breakthroughs within the breakthrough day was a theme that kept coming up, and it was about getting visible. And, you know, the fact that we're on here sharing, normally when I teach around storytelling, I'm always telling people, if you are sharing story, you have to make sure that you are fully healed from it. And the beautiful thing about NLP is you can so quickly get the learnings and heal yourself from stories, situations, so that you can be objective about it. And like when I'm sharing this, everything we're talking about today, it has no negative emotional charge, which is why we're able to share it so quickly after having the breakthrough. So just wanted to share that with you guys. So one of the biggest things for me that was coming up was getting visible. Now, obviously, you know, for both of us, we have podcasts, we are coaching, you know, hundreds of women. We are visible. We are very visible.
We are out there.
We are out there. We are like posting all of our stuff online. Like, you don't really, like, as compared to the average person, like, you really don't get much more seen than that. And yet, I noticed some patterns in myself, and I'm always trying to be honest with myself in terms of, okay, if I don't yet have the result that I want, it's because there's something underneath that's going on. Because when your conscious mind that's saying, I'm going to set this goal, is not in alignment and is incongruent with your unconscious that maybe is trying to keep you safe, or you have some old limiting decision that you haven't let go of yet. When those are in conflict, that's why you're not at your goal yet. And so this year I set some insane goals for myself, and I didn't quite get there. And I thought I was going to be closer than I am. And I'm just being completely real with you guys, because I think sometimes we think, oh, everybody else has got their shit figured out. Everybody else is hitting their goals. No. Sometimes you come up short, and that's okay. You just keep going. You figure it out. You adjust. You change the process. You change the form. So I noticed through, Ashley was taking me through the breakthrough day, and the theme of getting visible kept coming up. And even though I've done so much work, she's done so much work, like everyone in that room has already done so much work on themselves, there was still some like little tiny things all the way stored in my unconscious that I was able to release. And what was so insane about it, it was stuff that was not even from my own childhood. It was stuff from that were emotions that were transferred to me in the womb. And I just allowed my unconscious to take me there. It was things that were past generational that I somehow was holding on to. So it was really freaking fascinating, because I've done a lot of that work before and released things that were in my own lifetime, and then getting even deeper and finding the root cause of the root cause of the root cause. And it almost felt like there was like a fish hook that was still kind of in me, reeling me back to shore every time I went to step into that next level version of myself. And I'm so grateful to have Ashley taking me through this, to have NLP, because I don't really have to play whack-a-mole anymore with these limiting decisions and these limiting beliefs. Like they're just gone. They're just completely gone now. And I don't have to worry that they're going to pop up, because I have the tools and I can walk myself through them, and I can phone a friend and get to that next level without feeling in conflict with that inner turmoil of all of that stuff just creeping back in. And I'm sure you'd like to have that too, right?
So good. And so what was your biggest breakthrough around visibility?
That it's safe to be seen.
Yeah.
And it was, of course, in total synchronicity that I had a one-on-one coaching client literally the next day, and that was a theme that was coming up for her, because of course she was in my vibration as well. And I was able to give myself some affirmations where I kept saying to myself, it is safe to be seen. It is beautiful to be seen. It is expansive to be seen. And I'd already kind of thought those to myself the day before, and then I sat down with her, did a coaching call, and I was able to guide her through this really beautiful meditation, which was exactly what I gave to myself the day before, and I was able to then hand that off to her. So when you're doing the work on yourself, you're doing it not just for you. You're doing it for your clients. You're doing it for the world. It's like it never ends.
It ripples.
It ripples.
It creates a huge, massive ripple in humanity. And one of the things that had come up in my breakthrough session that I think is really valuable to share too is that we all want to feel validated, and we all want to be seen. Mm-hmm. We'll do anything to be seen and heard and feel accepted and feel validated by people in our lives.
Well, you had said to me, I think we all want to be seen, not just seen, but seen as the person that we truly are, as our authentic selves, and not for the number of people we have as followers on social media. And I was like, damn, that shit's deep.
We got real deep.
We got real deep.
Oh, I said, being alive is validating enough. Being alive is validating enough.
You were giving me chills when I was taking her through the processes, and I was like, okay, when we do this thing called time technique, you go back to the memories without associating to it, kind of floating above it, and you find the learnings. And you allow your unconscious mind to give you the learnings so that you can let go of whatever that feeling was around that experience easily and effortlessly. And it's really amazing how your unconscious, it will hold on to things until you get those learnings.
Yeah.
That's why it's holding on to it.
And it takes the path of least resistance, and it wants to give you these learnings.
Mm-hmm.
It wants to give you the answers. And so we both had to just totally surrender to our unconscious minds. And I look at that as surrendering to the universe too, because it's so similar. It's like it
connected.
wants to work with you. It wants to do for you. It wants to protect you. It wants to guide you. It wants what you want. And we do we do have stuck emotions within us that need to be released. And so it was just so powerful to go through all those emotions and release them and just realize that being who we are is enough.
Yeah.
Being who you are is enough. We don't have to overcompensate. We don't have to undercompensate. We can just express ourselves for who we are.
Yeah. I think in taking you through the breakthrough session, I was sitting there watching you just play so full out and just surrender so fully and trust the process. I remember sitting there and be like, oh my God, you're setting the bar real high for like vulnerability and like going in for it. I was like, I remember thinking like, I hope I can be like at that level tomorrow. Like, cause she went first. And you helped me get there. Did you have any big like, like you were giving me like chills when you were coming up with learnings. I can't remember specific ones, but
yeah,
when you were taking me through, I just remember looking at you and you were just kind of like looking at me like with a cockeyed head, like what? Like I was going, because you guys know I love me some strategy, but I was going real woo. Like shit was going like, I was like, I'm a conscious. I don't even know.
You were like, I am one with everything. Like you were out there and you were feeling it and you were being it, and I was feeling it from you. And
you looked at me at one point. You're like, you just went somewhere. Like you're going places on this timeline right now. Like where'd you just go? I was like, I don't know. The world is so like, it's all connected.
Yeah, that's the ultimate perspective, right?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was really crazy.
It was amazing to watch you because I know how there's this thing in NLP, it's called chunk up or chunk down. And so when you're chunked up, you're like, you know,
big
expansive, picture. Big picture, right? And when you're chunked down, you're in the details, you're in the strategy. And Jen is very into specifics, and she needs a formula, and she needs a process, and she needs a strategy, and that's what I love you for that.
It's not even that I do need it because I like enjoy it and it helps my brain comprehend things, but I don't even think about it. Like my brain just like immediately chunks things down.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even consciously, I don't have to try.
And I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
So I always chunk things up. So she's like, Ash, you got to get more specific. And I'll say something and she'll be like, well, how specifically? Like, you want to know the specifics. But it was so awesome to watch you kind of chunk up and go bigger.
Yeah.
In being the visionary that you are and seeing the bigger picture of, you know, everything that you are creating, which is so powerful and amazing. And also watching you tap into your intuition, really using your energy and your just inner guidance. It was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful.
Thank you. I feel like I really unlocked, like I was just seeing colors and pictures and shapes and all sorts of crazy shit. It was really wild, but that's good for me to know about myself too.
We want to give you guys some tools for playing with your unconscious mind and building rapport with your unconscious mind. And so one of the rules is to stop saying, I don't know. Because when we say, I don't know, we're literally blocking our mind, our unconscious mind, from giving us the answer. And if you know, one of the biggest rules of your unconscious mind is that it works on the path of least resistance, and it always wants to give you the answer, then you can easily say to yourself, I know the answer is coming to me right now. And allow the answer to come to you right now.
Mm-hmm. We literally hypnotize ourselves into believing that we don't have the answers. Isn't that crazy?
That really is. It really is nuts. Like, we block ourselves from the gold that's inside of us.
Mm-hmm. And kind of what you were talking about earlier is, kind of everything we're talking about is that we don't consciously realize it until now, but we think in pictures and movies and also in our feelings and whatnot. And they're called internal representations. And when I'm working with clients, one of the things that they like to say at the beginning of our stuff when they're asking questions like, I don't know, I'm just really stuck because blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, we don't use the S word because the S word creates an internal representation. So I usually ask my clients, what is the picture that you're creating in your mind when you're using the words, I'm stuck? And it usually is something like, oh, I don't know, I don't know. I'm like, well, if you did know, what would it be? And typically it's like, well, I picture myself standing with my feet in cement or in mud and I can't get out. So you are literally telling your unconscious mind to be stuck in mud. And you're creating this really, really powerful picture. It's creating a state in you, an emotional state of feeling stuck, feeling heavy, feeling like you can't move, which is creating and influencing your behavior and ultimately giving you the result of not moving forward. So when we are using our language, we want to be really intentional about using things that are moving us in the direction and creating the result that we consciously want.
Yeah, totally. And I look at the formula of, the NLP man, so we call it, right? It's like internal representations create our state of being, which create our physiology, how we carry our bodies, creates our behaviors, and that creates our results. And I look at that as like, okay, this is manifesting. This is literally manifesting your reality. And so if you have this IR, internal representation of being stuck in cement, and that's creating this, feeling of stuckness and resistance, it's no wonder why your reality is reflecting that.
Mm-hmm.
And so another tool to leave with you is if you're saying I am stuck, you're using the most powerful words in the universe, which are I am. And whatever you put after that is what you become. And so there's a really powerful technique that you can simply ask yourself, and you can say, so I'm stuck. Is that all I am? And then ask yourself how much more you are than that.
Mm-hmm. I love this technique. Anything that you put after I am is identity. Goes all the way to identity level. So it's not just about your behavior. It's not just about whatever. It's your identity. So when somebody says I am a loser versus I am unstoppable, very, very different impacts. And so you've probably done some positive affirmations, and you typically use the I am statement. And it's because if you can repeat that enough, a belief is just something that you've integrated through repetition. That's all it is. And you can change your beliefs at any point in time. You just need to look for other experiences and other proof that support your new belief while questioning and loosening some of the other kind of legs on the table, right? If your belief is the tabletop and the legs are the supporting experiences, if you start to really objectively look at the experiences that are supporting that belief, find the learnings, if that belief is not serving you, you can very quickly kind of do a little karate sweep and get rid of that belief. Because you get to choose what you want. Isn't that crazy?
It is. It's so cool because we actually decide at different points in our life what we want to believe. And so in NLP, they don't even necessarily call them limiting beliefs. They call them limiting decisions because that's all that they are.
Yep.
They're just decisions that you decided are going to limit you in your life. And I look at limiting beliefs as like literal caps that we wear. We put on a cap that limits us from something, and then another cap that limits us from something else. And
then you're like 4 hats in.
And then you're like, 4 hats in, and you're like, what the heck?
I have
Why
so
am
many hats on. This is not fashionable.
Yes.
These hats don't even fit on top of each other.
And then you find someone like Jen Casey who takes you through a breakthrough day, and then she literally just takes all the hats off your head, and you're just free.
You finally don't have to be the hat person.
Yeah. I like hats, though. They're kind of my jam.
Oh my god. I'm just imagining. See, what internal representation are you creating? Are you imagining Ashley with like 40 hats on her head?
Don't think of a black hat.
What?
Just testing the unconscious mind, because obviously you just thought of a black hat. That's how the unconscious mind works.
Okay, to kind of piggyback on that, with manifestation and with the unconscious mind, anytime you give yourself a thought, even if you say no, this is the whole idea of manifesting, right? Where it's like, set your intentions and your goals in the positive. It's meaning, if you are saying, don't think of a black hat, don't think about how you're going to suck at this later. Like, you're going to create a picture for that, because in order for your conscious mind to delete something, your unconscious mind first has to create a picture. So if we say, don't think of a black hat, you immediately think of a black hat and then cancel it out. So when people are saying, oh, I want to manifest no debt in my life, flip it. I want to manifest abundance. Because if you're saying no debt, you have to think about the debt, which keeps you at a certain vibrational frequency, which keeps you focused on the thing that you don't want. And when you focus on what you don't want, you just attract more of it.
The Woo Gen is coming out.
Woo Gen is here to stay.
Yay. And that's another thing that we talked about a lot is, I teach manifestation as my primary, focus, as well as eliminating everything that stops you from creating the life that you want, because it goes hand in hand. And you're so focused on strategy, but also, unlocking the mental, the mindset, Totally.
I mean, for the last couple of years, even prior to doing business coaching, I worked in network marketing, and I love strategy, because I know for myself, when I got the right steps and strategies, it was like, boom, I finally locked in, and I was able to really get the success and see the numbers and have, the big launches and all that stuff. And when I started to coach literally hundreds of women, I started to notice a pattern where, a portion of the women would be wildly successful, be like, I just had my $1,000 day, and I just had a 15K launch, and blah, 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 and have all these amazing things, signing clients, growing the network marketing team. And then there was another portion of the people who were in the same course, who attended the same calls, who were being given the exact same strategies and information served on the same silver platter, and yet they had no results, or very much smaller results. And it was like, well, what is the missing piece? And it really comes down to being in the right mindset. And, if you have some kind of secondary gain, which means if you are saying, I really, really, really want to create a 6-figure business, and I'm also freaking terrified to do this, and you have this underbelly of fear and guilt and shame and fear of rejection and whatever it may be, well, we have, as human beings, we either move towards pleasure or away from pain. What do you think we do more of? We move away from pain. So these people who, these students of mine and followers, whoever it may be, listeners of the shows, instead of moving toward what they wanted, they were saying, well, I'd rather stay safe. I'd rather be protected. I would rather avoid rejection. I would rather avoid embarrassment. I would rather avoid shame than put myself out there. And so even though they had all of the strategies, all of the systems to create the life and business that they wanted, they weren't taking action on it because all of these other things were at play. And because they weren't consciously aware of it, they would spend time kicking themselves and going, what's wrong with me? Why is this person having their first, 5-figure month and I'm still sitting here doing nothing? And so I feel like over the last year, my mission was really looking at, I'm very grateful to have had so many students, because it allowed me to see a really, have a really big pool of people to say, okay, whoa, we're seeing some serious patterns here. Why are this many people having results and this many people staying in the middle and this many people not even starting? Like, something is missing from this process. And it really, what I've started to really see is these processes in NLP, this is the missing piece for people. And we can talk about, people who are making multiple 6 figures already. Everybody has their own ceiling on what they think is possible. So you might know some people who are making $40 million a year. Like, if you're going by income, it doesn't freaking matter. The money is not the whole point. It's about what you believe is possible. And when you break through that next ceiling and that next ceiling and that next ceiling, it's all about learning how to handle that next level of abundance and believe that you're worthy of it. And I feel like you could really speak to that. I don't know what
I
just said.
that was amazing. And that was a really, really big part of my breakthrough day with Jen, was understanding that I am capable of creating that next level of abundance, and I'm worthy of it. Right? Like taking that time to actually sit down and be like, okay, what do I want? Because, you can wake up every day and just go right to work and work and be in the details of your work, but you have no intention. You don't know what you want to create. You don't know how you want to feel in that day or in that week or in that month. And you don't know how much money you want to make. Like, you think you think in your head but you don't actually take the time to chunk it down, to sit down, to be like, okay, this is what I want to manifest. This is my intention.
So what do you think is the secret to this idea of doing the work? Because I recognize in myself through this breakthrough session that I knew how to do, quote unquote, the work. I knew consciously and unconsciously what was missing, and yet there was this whole underbelly of limiting decisions, and I, in an effort to not quite be as visible, I was not taking care of my health, not fully stepping out and doing certain very, very teeny tiny things in my business that were going to move it forward. I was, avoiding stress. And this was something that we talked about a lot, this whole idea of stress avoidance. Like, I think I'll hit the snooze button. I think I'll sleep in a little bit. I think I'll, watch Netflix, because it's all a way to, avoid stress and break that pattern when you're just feeling like you're going to bust. So I feel like you gave me so many ahas on this. So I'd love to, hear you speak about this a little bit.
If you're a human being, you can totally relate to stress avoidance, especially if you're an entrepreneur. It's so easy to allow the details to overwhelm. That's something that I was getting caught up in, was having the details overwhelm me and then me pushing them away so I didn't have to deal with them in order to move things forward. And I don't care what level you're at, this shows up. It totally does. And that is just a symptom of something deeper. Like, so stress avoidance is a result of a limiting decision that you made about yourself or your business or your life in some way. And so for me, it was tied into, my income and how much my earning potential for what I'm about to launch and all the things that I'm about to birth into the world, right? And so I was putting it off. I was doing stress avoidance to push off my potential.
Well, how was stress avoidance showing up for you? Like, what were the behaviors?
I will create amazing content and I will hold on to it and not share it and not put it out into the world. And it's really silly. I'll create things and I'll hold on to them and I'll scroll on social media and I'll work on some back end part of my website that is not relevant.
And PSA, if you are not a web designer and you are currently trying to grow or launch your business and you are spending time working on the header of your website, put down the clicker. You do not need to be working on your website. That is not a priority. That is not a money-making activity for you right now, and you're going to waste the next 4 months building a website that may end up changing. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, for me, I'll work on it because it makes me feel successful in some way. Like, it might be my, like...
You're crossing something off the list.
Yeah, exactly. I'm crossing something off the list. But the truth is, like Jen said, if it's not a money-making activity...
And not your zone of genius.
You don't have to be doing it. And also, another thing to add to that is asking yourself, like, is this the best way that I can be of service right now?
I love that.
Is this the best way that I can serve people? Because that's why we're here. We're here to serve people. And if you're in your room working on your website,
instead of getting
perfecting like the image and the background that you just can't figure out,
instead of getting on a live video and speaking to your potential new clients and sharing with them what you are learning. I mean, that doesn't have to take a long time. That could be 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And you're spending 5 hours on a website and the tech stuff and things that you don't know how to do. And listen, internships.com, Fiverr.com, like you can outsource that to people who eat, breathe, sleep that stuff and will do it for you faster and better than you ever thought possible. Because let me just tell you guys, I get it. You've started this amazing business and you've employed the coolest, smartest person you know, yourself, and you're paying yourself $0 an hour to do things that you don't know how to do. That's just straight silliness. So hire somebody who knows what the heck they're doing so that you can spend time focused on the things that are going to allow you to make the biggest impact and the greatest amount of income so that you can manifest and create the dream life.
Yeah.
Like you were saying before, this is like becoming that person. Like what is the 6 or 7 figure version of you? How does he or she show up every single day? What is she doing?
Like Jen and I were at dinner the other night. Yeah, last night. And I said to her, I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, I could have $2 million in the bank right now, and I would still be here doing this right here, right now.
Yeah. And I was like, holy shit. You're right. Like, we could literally have any amount of money in the bank.
Yeah.
Money doesn't matter. I would absolutely 100% be here learning the mastery level of NLP. Like, that's exactly what I would want to be doing.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool moment to realize that.
Yeah, it's an aha when you look around and realize that you're already there. The journey is the destination. There's really nowhere to go but to just start to really get super present, deliberate, intentional, do the work from where you are right now and realize that you're exactly where you should be.
You just need to show up as the best freaking version of you. Stop looking at what other people are creating. It doesn't matter. Create from your soul. Shut it down on social media. Show up as you. Put it out there. And your people will freaking find you. And give back to them. Like, don't create in a vacuum. Create from the space of sharing with your audience, having conversations with them so that they can collaborate with you and feel like they're part of that culture that you're creating and that community.
Yeah. Yeah, from a place of abundance, from a place of service and giving and sharing your gifts, because that's what we came here to do. And if you help one person, it makes a huge difference. Like it goes back to the ripple.
Mm-hmm. When people have a really phenomenal experience, I remember this from the restaurant business, it's like if somebody has a great experience, they're going to tell 5 people who are going to tell 5 people who are going to tell 5 people who are going to tell 5 people. So if you were sitting there saying, oh, it's only one person. No, it wasn't. It was 1 that turned into 6 that turned it, it's that momentum is happening. If you've never read the book or looked inside the book, The Compound Effect,
I need to read that.
That was truly one of the most powerful things. Back when I was in network marketing, when I was first starting my business, I was working my face off. I was hustling. I was doing the whole working harder thing, doing 16-hour days, 12, 16-hour days on the computer, just trying to figure it the F out. And I remember reading that book, and it kept me sane. It got me back on track. It brought me back to realizing that every single thing that I was doing was building that momentum. So even if you feel like you're not getting that traction that you want yet, just know that every single time that you show up consistently, you are building that momentum, and you're never starting over. You're always taking the learnings with you from anything that you've experienced up until this moment. And I had a conversation with a client the other day who felt like she was starting over, who was saying, oh, but XYZ hasn't happened yet. And I was like, stop operating from past circumstances. You are a different person today in this moment, then you're not the same person that you were 5 years ago when X, Y, and Z happened. You're not the same person you were 6 months ago. You're not the same person that you were yesterday. You have different understanding, different learning. You're in a different energy, and you can choose to either exist and operate from past versions of yourself, or you can decide that you're going to move forward from today and make conscious, intentional choices about who you want to become.
That's one of the biggest manifestation principles that I teach is, manifesting from a place of assuming that it's going to be the way that it was. And And that can really work against you in a lot of ways, but it also can work for you when you have a really beautiful experience from your past, or you have a really joyful time or blissful time or whatever. You can take that experience and paste that onto your future. But if you are taking, your identities from the past, or your stuck energy from the past, and you're just assuming that it's going to be that way, then it will, because you're the creator.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful nugget for everybody, and a great action step, that if you're in a place where you're operating from negative circumstances of the past, and that's the way that you've kind of been operating by default, instead of saying, oh, well, here are the areas where I failed, so I don't know if this is going to work, why don't you take a moment to write down a list of 10 areas where you achieved and succeeded and overcame challenges, and paste those into the future. Use those as the models of, how did I overcome that thing? What state was I in? What thoughts was I thinking? What did I need to believe about myself in that moment in order to get to this next level? And you can apply those same learnings to the things that you're working on achieving in the future.
Boom.
I love it.
All right, guys. We have to go to bed. It's our last night in LA.
Our last night.
We've been together for 2 whole weeks.
And there's part of my brain that's like, wait, I live in New York? Wait, I don't live here in LA and with you in this alternate dimension where we go and learn NLP every day?
What is life? I'm so grateful to have had this experience with you and be here with you, and
you're my soul sister.
Aw, baby.
Baby. Why don't you just meet me in the middle?
We sing every day.
Yeah, it's great.
You guys, I love Jen.
I love Ashley. I love at Manifest with Ash.
At Hey Jen Casey.
Okay, so if you're interested in learning more about NLP, like we mentioned at the beginning, we'll be linking up the details underneath in the show notes. So just swipe up show notes. Check them out. And yeah, we've been wanting to do this for a really long time. I've been wanting to interview you. You've been like, when are you coming on my show? And we were just like, you know what? We need to do this in person. And it just needs to be That's my glass. It needs to just be conversational, and we just need to, like, I don't know, keep it real. If this was powerful for you, take a screenshot of the show, tag us on your Instagram stories at manifest_with_Ash, Manifest with Ash, and at Hey Jen Casey. Let us know your biggest aha moment from the show. And we're really excited to connect with you guys on Instagram. And if you have any questions about the NLP certification, if you're thinking about it, we're happy to chat with you and fill you in on any deets.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you guys. Jen. Love you.
Love you.
Yay.
So good. Hope you had as much fun listening to that as I had recording it with Jen. And if you are curious about the NLP program, the link is in the show notes, so check it out. And if you have questions or you're confused, reach out to me. I'm here for you guys. Whatever you need, find a way to reach out to me. And it's also on my website under manifestwithash.com/beacoach. Thank you so much for listening to the Badass Manifester podcast. I love manifesting Mondays with you. And there's so much more in store right here. The best way to manifest love is to give love. If you loved what you heard today, subscribe to the Badass Manifester podcast. Leave a review on iTunes. Let me know how much you dig the energy here. All of my social is linked up in the show notes, so screenshot this episode, tag me on Instagram, and let me be part of your real-time journey. For more info on me, feel free to go to my website, manifestwithash.com. Repeat after me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. Go get 'em.